now that I've shown you how I build the more combo variant of the Thunder deck, the 40 card all gas pile deck, let's go over how to play it. So this deck is a lot more reliant on just having enough gas to play through any board your opponent makes, right? Most of the standard Omni Negates are out of the format, and with Appaloosa gone, the most generic way to just check all of the 1 to 2 card starters that is required for a deck like this are now gone. The things you lose to now are Nibiru, Droll and Lockbird, and floodgates like D-Shifter, Skill Drain, stuff like that. So those are things to keep in mind while you're playing the deck, and we'll get into more of the nitty-gritty of how you should optimize playing your cards while you're doing it. Quick spoiler though, Droll is almost impossible to play around with this deck. It's more or less, instead of playing and making a board into Droll, it's minimizing the damage Droll will do. Because it's going to damage what your end board is. That's just a fact. So let's go ahead and get into the more basic combos. I've covered this combo previously, but in this I want to go over a little bit more detail, because in this matchup there's way more variance to this hand than you can possibly have with the standardized list. So attract, we go Tract for Lurry, which is here somewhere. There it is. And then you don't discard the Lurry here. You discard the Dark. Keep in mind this combo also works with Roar. You just have to maneuver it a bit differently. And in this kind of deck, it would be optimal to have 2 copies of Little Knight, because sometimes Haggard can't always use its effect on itself, because Roar is too big to use with the Haggard. So we've discarded the Dark. We will normal the Lurry. We'll turn Lurry into the Requiem. Requiem will turn itself into an Engraver. We will then go Requiem Equip, turn these 2 into the Necroquip. We will then put back the Lurry to special the Engraver, and at this point you don't actually go for Caesar. You need to get access to your engine, because otherwise you're straight up not losing, and this combo still is insulated against Nib, and I'll show you how. You turn these 2 into Little Knight, or again, if you draw the Roar, instead you turn into Haggard Lizardos, and then the Haggard has to target something else on the field. This is what I'm arguably going to do when I get the reprint of the Little Knight, and I'm going to have a second copy. Little Knight's going to banish the Dark. Dark's going to use its effect to search Hawk. And then Hawk's going to pitch itself, revive Dark, turn Dark into Colossus. Pretty standard, right? This is like the most mid-rangey combo you can do in Thunder. Reason being is that you get on a Colossus and Little Knight. If your opponent nibs you, you can Little Knight, target the Colossus, banish both until the end phase, the nib fizzles, and then you have both of these return on your turn, so that way you're still insulated, and you have exactly the same board. What does change a little bit for this deck is that now that you're more focusing on the Chaos cards, like the Bystials and other stuff, it's important to go over the more mid-rangey or the higher ceiling combos you can do with things like Solar and Aloof Lupine. Keep in mind, Solar and either Tract or Engraver will do the same thing. And the Aloof Lupine will require more cards to get into, but is arguably better because it doesn't lose to as many hand traps. And we'll go over that in a moment. Here, let's just grab an Aloof Lupine so I can show you that as well. Where is it at? There's one. We'll go ahead and put the Lurry up top here just for my own sanity. Okay, so at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to go Tract, Tract Lurry, Lurry Requiem, Requiem into Engraver, and then we're going to go Requiem onto the Engraver, turn the Engraver into the Necroquip, revive the Engraver, putting back the Lurry, so you have the follow-up. Keep in mind, you always want to put back this, and if you can help it, not to put back these 2 ever. Reason being is that we play 3 Tract in this list, so if you use this, you put it back, and then Tract becomes a +1 later. Revive the Engraver, and then again, instead of going into the Caesar here, what you'll do is one of 2 things. If you draw Solar, you'll normal it, and then you'll dump a Roar. Let me get to it real quick. You'll then turn these 2 into Little Knight. Little Knight's now on the field and established, so you can use this to play around Nib. Little Knight will banish Roar. Roar will summon Dark. You will then turn these two into the second Little Knight, or you can turn them into Haggard. You can also, if we had Appaloosa, you could do that here. And I'll show you more combos that let you use this engine to tutor into this engine if you need to later. And then from here, you just go the same standard combos you would do, making the second Little Knight, or you can turn, because this was special summoned, you can summon a token, which is level 1, and then you can turn all these into Changeal. Dark will then search, you can get a Hawk, and then you turn Hawk into the Roar, and then Roar into the Colossus. There you go, right? Another super mid-rangey, low input type of combo, right? It's super standard. And it's super reliable too, because you're almost completely nib-proof. This can always turn off this. This is immune to monster effects, so you don't have to worry about nib resolving against you almost at all. The only time they would have the ability to nib you where it actually do any damage is at the point where you have Little Knight and a Roar banished in the dark on the field. Because at that point, if they nib you, you can chain the Little Knight, banish the Hawk, or banish the Dark, and then the Dark will search you a Hawk, and then you can turn Hawk in the Colossus, and then you can do, in the end phase, this will be on the field, and this will not be. The Dark will be on the field instead of the Chaos Angel. Let's go ahead and show that combo the same, but instead of doing the Solar, we'll do Aloof Lupine. So we'll get back to the point where it's the same, right? We have, this is in deck, this is in deck, this is in deck, this is on field. Lurie is back in the deck, and Necroquip is on the field. Okay, so instead of doing that combo, you'll actually go this way. These two will turn into Caesar. There we go. You'll then do Aloof Lupine, banish a Thunder monster. Then we're going to banish a Roar from deck. Roar will summon a Dark. You'll turn these two into Little Knight. The Dark will then search again, or get a search, getting you a Hawk. Or if you have the Thunder Dragon, you search the Fusion. Turn Hawk into the Roar. Turn Roar into the Colossus. There you go. You got 2 negates off Caesar, you got Colossus, and you got Little Knight. There is no way they're nibbing you here. Keep in mind, the moment you tracked, you are instantly susceptible to droll. 9 times out of 10, they're going to droll you on Resolution to Tract. So if they don't do it there, you can pretty much guarantee they don't have it. Not like you can play around it anyway, but you can at least mitigate that with that kind of deck knowledge. Okay, so that's a more standardized combo. Let's go ahead and do a Battery Man and a Lubellion. Because with this engine, instead of just making the triple Colossus, you're actually going to tutor into the Fiend Smith cards. So let's go first things first. Solar, dump Roar. Again, Lubellion into Magnemite. This is where you're going to get drolled. If they have droll there, we'll droll you here. Magnemite, banish the Roar. Roar will summon Dark. Dark will get the token. Excuse me, the Solar will summon a token. You have a few different ways you can go here. Previous format, you would turn this all into Appaloosa, no problem, no skin off your teeth. However, we are very close to playing into Nib, which can be an issue. The way I would recommend going about it is that you would turn this into the token, or excuse me, into the Link Spider. Reason being is that we are now able to be nibbed. We have summoned way more than 5 times. We are super in. They are going to take this trade 9 times out of 10, and I'll show you what they'll do, what you should do when you get nibbed. So keep this board in mind. We will tutor back to it. Dark will get Hawk, and then Hawk will get Roar. Roar will get Colossus. Pretty standard, right? That is, if you want to do anything in this deck, you want to end on Colossus, because Colossus is a field, it's a floodgate, and if you have your opponent that'll dig into it, they will completely dig into it. You can banish Dark to get a search, you can banish Hawk to get a mulligan, plus in the end phase, you're going to have the Magnemite, which is going to be able to get you to another form of interaction regardless, so you're fine. If they don't nib you here, that means they likely don't have it, which is a good thing. So we had this here, and then the token was over here. Or no, the token was used. This is the Dark on the field. Okay, so say you don't get nibbed, right? At this point, what you're going to do is you're going to assume that they don't have the nib, because if they did, they would have 100% used it. You'll turn these two into Little Knight. Again, Little Knight can insulate you here. It doesn't really matter because we're not buying that they have the nib at this point. Otherwise, they would have used it. Dark is going to search. It'll search for the Hawk that we haven't used yet. Pitch the Hawk. Make Roar. We'll do Colossus here. Colossus here. You don't want to put them under the EMZs if you can help it, because you don't want to play into the Anima, which if you're going against Snake Eyes, almost guaranteed is going to happen. You turn Magnamut into the Lubellion, again putting in the far right zone. Lubellion will place the continuous spell, and in the end phase, the Magnamut that you dumped is going to get you another Bystial. So you'll get a, depending on the matchup, you'll get either Druiswarm if you need the removal, or you'll get the Baldrake, because you know that you can clear the Lubellion for the interaction. Whether or not you choose to use it now is fine. All of the cards in your graveyard have been tutored at this point, so you would want to keep the ones that you can use on your opponent's turn. So you keep the Roar in the Dark, or the Hawk, and then you banish the Solar here. The Magnamut you want to keep engraved, because when your opponent normal or specials, you can use the Regain to revive it, and then you'll get another form of follow-up in the following turn. Solar, and then you just regained, put it back, draw a card, and there you go. You got full combo off of 2 cards. This is also nib-proof. It's not nib-proof, but because you have the Regain setup, and you have the Magnamut setup, and you have these, you can guarantee on your opponent's turn, these 2 cards will be on your field. If you even really wanted to, if you don't fear things like board breakers, you can even Little Knight target both Colossus, and then Colossus will both be summoned on your opponent's turn, and then you'll have regained double Colossus and a Bystial in your hand that you can use later. So that's that engine. Let me show you how to do the same thing, but you can now tutor into the Fiend Smith cards. So we'll do... Where'd my Solar go? It went to the bottom of the deck, that's why. Solar Lubellion. Okay, say your opponent, you're going against like, oh, I don't know, Tenpai or something. You know they have a handful of a bunch of guys. What you'll do here is you'll go, we'll just put these up here for my own sanity. You'll go Lubellion, search the Magnamut, normal Solar, Solar dump the Roar, Magnamut, Roar, Roar is going to summon a Dark, Solar will summon a token. At this point, you're going to actually want to go Lubellion, tribute the Magnamut, use the Lubellion, place the spell, because now you can also be, you're already going to be playing into Nib. But this way, if your opponent has the Bystial, you can use this to get the bonus off of it. Okay, so at this point, you'll turn this into the Link Spider. Turn Link Spider and Lubellion into the Moon of Closed Heaven. Now, this, again, is the point where you will get nibbed 9 times out of 10. Reason being is that they know that when they see this, they're going to mean Requiem, which means Requiem was going to get you the full Engraver package. That's fine. If you do, you resolve the Bystial, which means you're going to have Regained ready for when that's going to resolve. You're going to have the Dark is going to search a Hawk, which means Colossus. So your end board will be Colossus Regained plus a Bystial, and then on your opponent's turn, you're going to summon back the Magnamut, which is perfectly fine. Say they have nothing, which again is unlikely, but it is possible. You turn the Moon of Closed Heaven into the Requiem. You turn Requiem into the Engraver. You can then use the Requiem, re-equip the Engraver, turn these two into Necroquip. If you have things you can pitch to search, you're still balling, you can do that. You can also then turn these two into, oh, sorry, my bad. We don't do that yet. We return the Moon of Closed Heaven for Engraver, turn these into the Caesar, then you turn these two into the Little Knight, To chain block here, you can go chain link 1 dark, chain link 2 little knight, targeting just something irrelevant in your grave like the link spider. You're playing a ghost ogre, but if they're ghost ogreing you at this point, that's fine, you don't care. And then dark's gonna get you hawk. Pitch hawk, summon the roar into Colossus. There you go. You can also arguably, when you do that combo, instead of going those two directly into the closed heaven, you can use the dark, turn that into the closed heaven. Dark will search you hawk. The problem is that you're not chain blocking the dark there, so there's a potential that you could get ashed. Again, it's not likely you'll get ashed, because if they're going to ash you, they're going to ash you here, or they're going to ash you on your tract, or they'll ash you on your like engraver or roar or something like that. But that's just more things you should keep in mind while you're playing, because if you don't see those hand traps at those points, either your opponent doesn't know when to hand trap you, which is a good thing, or they do and they didn't draw it, which again is a good thing. So that's how you tutor these. Oh, you can also do the same thing with Aloof Lupine here, right? So because, okay, let's do this. Let's do Aloof Lupine plus Thunder Dragon. This is also a pretty standard hand. You'll go Thunder Dragon into double Thunder Dragon here. You want specifically 2 because you're going to banish one of them off Aloof Lupine, and you want to keep the third in hand. Keep in mind, this is one of the few times you can play through Droll. Aloof Lupine being able to banish from deck means that you don't have to worry about searching, and you've already pitched a Thunder Dragon to resolve its effect, so which means the Colossus is live, you just need to get a Thunder on the field. This works the same with Gold Sark as well, by the way. You Aloof Lupine, banish a Thunder Dragon. Here you get the Roar. Roar will summon a Dark. Again, because you've pitched, you can technically turn this into Colossus if you're under Droll. You'll have a suboptimal hand, of course, because you'll have just Colossus Pass, basically, if you have no other relevant cards in hand. But if we want to continue with the combo, this is how we will do it. These two into the closed heaven. Dark will then search a hawk, or you can search Thunder Dragon Fusion. I'm going to search Thunder Dragon Fusion here because I want to have the follow-up. You turn the closed heaven into the Requiem, Requiem into Engraver. We will re-equip the Requiem, turn these two into Haggard, or excuse me, not Haggard, into Necroquip. Keep in mind, another thing you can do here, if you are not drolled, you can, if you fear the nib, don't do this. But if you don't fear the nib, you can fusion, put back the 2 Thunder Dragons, and then you can use the effect of Thunder Dragon pitching itself, and the Necroquip will chain itself to draw a bonus card. Which again, it's another +1, but you play deeper into the nib, and you would rather hold on to this until you know you're nib-proof, so that way you can guarantee a Colossus. Because even if this deck does nothing, ending on Colossus Pass is sometimes just enough, because at the very worst, it'll stop your opponent from searching. And then if your opponent tries to interact with it with anything other than Little Knight, you can banish things like Dark and Roar to get the follow-up you need to play on your next turn regardless. Colossus is the closest thing you want to have to a bare minimum. That goes double well for the more pure variants, but for this, it is extremely important because you need to have something. You know Droll's out there, and the pure or the combo variants will play into Droll 9 games out of 10. So for this, we are not going to use the fusion. What we are going to do though is we're going to put back the Moon of the Closed Heaven, summon the Engraver into Caesar. Then at this point, you go Thunder Dragon Fusion, putting back the 2 Thunder Dragons, make the Colossus, and then you go Thunder Dragon, Thunder Dragon, Thunder Dragon, keeping the 1 in hand for the follow-up later so you can use it later. So what this board represents, you have 2 negates off Caesar, Colossus, which can get you more stuff later, and you have the Fusion in graveyard. This is why I searched the Fusion earlier and not Hawk, because we had the Thunder Dragon in hand already, we don't need to pitch to make the Thunder Dragon live. If, of course, you drew something like a Roar or a Dark, then at that point you would search the Hawk. To my knowledge, and off the top of my head, these are the only ones you can draw into to guarantee you can play into Droll. So Aloof Lupine plus Thunder Dragon is guaranteed Colossus under Droll. Otherwise, you'll have to think about the line more intimately when you get to that situation. So that is the more basic combos you should know for this deck. Let's go ahead and do a couple of test hands so I can show you how this deck plays in a more standardized situation. And I'll also tell you what I think about each hand that may let you play through different hand traps. So we're going first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This hand is not amazing, if I'm being honest. There's a few things we can do here. First thing you're going to do is you're going to do Tract. Tract into the Lurry, and then Lurry, pitch itself, revive the Lurry. This is where you're going to get drolled. If you get drolled with this hand, you're making Caesar Pass, which again is not a lot, but Caesar Pass plus Regained plus a Baldrake can be enough. So assuming they don't have droll, let's keep playing. Let's just see where we can take this. We'll do a little bit of freestyling here. Requiem, Caesar, or excuse me, Requiem, Engraver, Engraver, Requiem, Tutor 2 into the Necroquip. At this point, I would probably go Regained, just because if your opponent has... if you draw the Regained, this is probably something you should do at the start of your turn. Reason being is that if your opponent is going to Bystial you, they're going to Bystial you on the Lurry, at which case you can Regain, draw a card, and then potentially dig into something else. Return, Engraver, Engraver into this, turn these two into the Caesar. Now, if you are desperate for, like, if you're going against Ubel or something, and you just know that Caesar plus a Baldrake is not enough, what you can do, if you are willing to risk your grind game, Baldrake, banish Requiem, Regained, draw a card. And then if you draw any Thunder monster here, you are doing full combo. Let's see. Drumroll, please. Whoop. Matrix. There you go. We're insanely balling now. Keep in mind, though, you are only playing one Requiem, and unless you bump it up to 2, this kind of situation can come up where you will now not have enough gas to keep playing. Aloof Lupine, banish Matrix, Matrix, and Roar. Roar, summon Dark, Matrix, search itself. Matrix. If you want to, you can turn these into Chaos Angel. I wouldn't, because I'd rather make the Little Knight. We turn these two into Little Knight. Dark will search, getting a... Because we have the fusion in hand, we should get the regular Thunder Dragon. Because, yes, Hawk still makes Colossus, but this guarantees follow-up. And then we just go Thunder Dragon for a bunch of cards. Thunder Dragon, Thunder Dragon, Thunder Dragon. And then you go Fusion, put back both of these, make Colossus. And then you got Baldrake, Colossus, Little Knight, and double Caesar. And double follow-up here. So, again, that is a risky play. I wouldn't do that if I had a choice. It's more one of those things where if you know the matchup, like if you're in game 2 or 3, and you know that Caesar Pass is just not enough, then I would recommend doing that. Especially in game 2 or 3, when your opponent draw or sides into things like Droplets, Dark Ruler, maybe Evenly. But now you have a much stickier field. Yes, you still lose to Evenly and Dark Ruler, but again, you put them on better have it instead of better play through my Caesar and not have it, you know? So let's go ahead and do another test hand. All right. This time, let's hopefully draw some Thunders instead of having to get lucky. Because that is, to be honest, drawing a Thunder off of the Regained is not uncommon because you're playing, like, I think 14 of them or something like that. But you don't want to rely on that ever if you can help it, especially since it hurts your grind game. 3, 4, 5. This hand is solid. It does board, but drawing double of this and double of this kind of sucks because that means you're basically playing with a 3-card hand, which is unfortunate, but it's still playable. Engraver into Tract. If you get drolled here, you lose on the spot. None of these are playable. You cannot use any of these. This has no targets, and you just have nothing else you can do. So hopefully your opponent doesn't do that. You can Tract for Lurry. At this point, I would recommend that you do the more standardized combo with the Lurry. So instead of pitching the Lurry, you'll pitch the Roar, and then you normal the Lurry. You can tell when that needs to happen when you don't draw into either Matrix, Aloof Lupine, or Solar. Because this will essentially be your only normal summon for the turn. You're not drawing into more cards. There's no way to get to outside engines other than what you can tutor from the extra deck. So you just want to normal the Lurry and get the graveyard set up off the Roar. 1 Requiem, Engraver. Let's see here, Engraver, Requiem, turn these two into Necroquip. I was actually wrong. You still always normal the Lurry here, but you will actually have the opportunity to dig further in your deck because we drew a Thunder Dragon. I mean, yes, we drew 2 of them, which sucks, but we can Thunder Dragon, chain the Princess, draw a card. Yeah, it was a dead card anyway. And then get another Thunder Dragon, which does turn on our Colossus, which is interesting. You'll then go special, put back the Lurry, turn these two into Little Knight, banish Roar, Roar, get the Dark, and then you turn these two into the Haggard Lizardos, Hawk, or Dark Effect Search Hawk. Or Thunder Dragon Fusion here. For same reason, you can make a Colossus, but either way, you're ending on just one anyway. So let's go. Do we have, how many Thunders do we have? We have enough for a Fusion. Let's get a Fusion for follow-up. You go Fusion, Roar, Thunder Dragon, making Colossus. At this point, you'll go Thunder Dragon, this is back in deck. Haggard, banish itself, target the Colossus, draw a card, and then maybe something good like a Lubellion. Oh, wait, we didn't shuffle right. That's the Roar we just put back. Hopefully something good like a Lubellion would be sick. Baldrake, that's not bad. But you ended on Colossus Pass, which, again, should be the bare minimum for any deck or any combo you do. Because this, while it does lose to as many things, it has a higher ceiling, and in a deck like this, you're already high rolling for the ability just to play. So you might as well go balls to the wall, all in, just to make sure that you can consistently get follow-up. Let's do 2 more hands. I'm going to draw into Lubellion, or draw one of the nuts hands. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do one where we don't draw double Thunder Dragon, right? Just so you know, this is basically the same combo I was showing you earlier. Aloof Lupine, banish this, banish Roar, tutor into the 6s, and then make Colossus. And we drew this as well, so we're doing, this hand is Caesar double Colossus with follow-up. It's just that we've already seen that hand. So let's go ahead and try to dig for something with the Lubellion lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is closer. You can use the, with this hand, Engraver search tracked, track search another Engraver, pitch the Lurry. You don't have to use your normal summon here, and then you do the Fiend Smith combo until you can get to the point where you can then do this plus this. That means you are nib proof, and you will then, this will turn into double Colossus Little Knight. So you'll, the end board here is Caesar with 2 negates, double Colossus Little Knight. This is a solid hand, but again, this loses to a Droll. Well, actually, I mean, it's not optimal, obviously, because you can go Solar. If you say you get Drolled on the Engraver, right, and the Attract just becomes dead, let's go ahead and try that. Let's go do a hand where we can assume that we're Drolled for Tract. Cool, we get Drolled. I mean, it happens. It is what it is. With this hand specifically, we can play through it. Solar, you want to dump something that you can have for later. You can dump Dark here, so that way when your opponent tries to interact with Colossus, you can banish the Dark, and then Dark will get a search on your opponent's turn. Whatever we're banishing here is almost completely irrelevant because the Bystial is going to just dump it regardless. So let's go ahead and dump a Thunder Dragon here. So that way if we draw into the, because we're already going to have Roar follow-up off of whatever we dump. Actually, you know what? Even better. Let's dump Hawk. Because if we go, because what we're going to do is we're going to go this banish and then use this to add back or banish or add back the hawk. That way we can make Colossus. So we'll dump the hawk. We will go Bystial, hawk. Actually, is it even better just to go roar? I'm incorrect. We are not going to dump the... No, we do need to dump the hawk because we need to discard the roar. So we'll go banish, and then we go roar effect, hawk. Because we didn't use this effect, we don't have to worry. We can use this to pitch again. So we can pitch, roar, effect to summon a token. At this point, we got a lot of stuff we can do. This is either Little Knight double Colossus, or we can make Chaos Angel Colossus, depending on what your opponent is you're expecting your opponent to have. At this point, I would probably go Little Knight double Colossus. So we can go Link Spider, turn these two into Little Knight, and then double Colossus here. Double Colossus. So there you go. That's how you can play with that specific hand into Droll. Keep in mind, Solar plus Roar is almost all the time just enough to play through things. This doesn't play into Droll, which is nice. Of course, you would rather have the ability to play into Droll, because this dump hawk, this add back hawk is still combo. It's still double Colossus regardless, which is one of the more common hands that we saw back in old toss format. Okay, so let's go and do some test hands until we draw the actual Lubellion lines. I want to show you the best possible board this deck can make. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. This is a nuts hand. Again, you lose to Droll, but we're going to assume for this hand that you're not going to lose to Droll because your opponent simply will not have it smile. Regardless, you still want to play as if they do have it. So, what you're going to do is you're going to Lubellion for Magnemite. Which is here somewhere. There we go. Now, if they Droll you, you're fine, because again, you drew Solar plus Roar. You also drew a Bystial plus Solar, which will get you not to Colossus, because you can't make Colossus without playing Droll, because you can't get this in the graveyard to shuffle back off of Fusion. You can't get a discard to add to hand that will be live. So what you would do here, if you do get Drolled, normal this dump the hawk, this pitch, add the hawk, make Colossus, and then do the board that I just showed you. We're not going to do that here. We're going to go balls in. Your opponent simply does not have any hand traps. So what we'll do is we'll go Solar dump the Roar. We'll go Magnemite target Roar. Magnemite effect, Chainlink 1 Roar, Chainlink 2 Magnemite. Summon Dark from deck. Solar will summon a token. Turn the token into Link Spider. Again, this is usually where your opponent will nib you, because if they do, you're fine, because this will get you a hawk, which will turn on your Colossus, and you'll have the Magnemite, which will be live. You can also argue at this point, before you commit to any further plays, to Lubellion here, because if they're at the point where you see 4 monsters on field, they might wait for you to go further. If they don't, though, and you summon the Lubellion, this is usually what will guarantee that they're going to nib you, because if they have the nib, they will use it to stop this so you don't get to the regained, as well as getting rid of all the other guys. If they don't do that, what you'll do is you'll get the regained, which is here somewhere. There we go. You'll turn this into Link Spider, these two into Closed Heaven. Dark will search, getting a hawk. Or actually, we have Thunder Dragon in hand, so we'll go ahead and get Thunder Dragon Fusion. Have we pitched yet? We have not pitched, but we have Thunder Dragon, so we will do with the Thunder Dragon, because that will get us live anyway. Okay. Again, if they have nib, they will do it at around this point. We pretty much are certain that they don't have it at this point, because otherwise they would have done it. They're not going to wait for you to go this deep into combo, more than likely. Thunder Dragon is going to search itself, and then Thunder Dragon for Thunder Dragon. Or actually, excuse me, we're going to keep the one in hand. We want to minimize the amount of draws that we can have off of it when we resolve the Necroquip. Alrighty, turn this into the Fiendsmith Requiem, Requiem into the Fiend Smith, re-equip, turn these two into Necro-equip, Thunder Dragon, chain the Princess, draw a card, resolve Thunder Dragon. Oh, we drew the Luflupine. That's insane for follow-up. Getting the Thunder Dragon. Revive the Engraver. Putting back the Closed Heaven. These two into Caesar. And then you can kind of go a large variety of ways here. If you value the Little Knight, you can turn both of these into Little Knight. I'm not going to do that here because I don't think we need the extra insulation from the nib. They would have to, they would need to have nib and imperm to play around this whole board. They would have to wait until you go full Colossus and then go nib, chain Caesar, chain imperm, target the Caesar, which is unlikely. It's possible. That's up to you to make that distinction at the time, whether or not you believe that is something they would have. You'd have to read your opponent at that point, though. I'm going to presume that they don't have it. We'll go Fusion, putting back Thunder Dragon, Thunder Dragon. Usually you would put back whatever is banished, but because we want to keep the Roar in case we draw into a Hawk later, we can just not worry about it. And we have these engraved anyway, and we can double guarantee that they're going to be back in there regardless. Colossus, Thunder Dragon, Thunder Dragon, Thunder Dragon. There you go. We go End Phase, Resolve Magnemite, getting a Baldrake. If you have not drawn off Regained yet and you want to just guarantee even more cards in hand, you don't need to. I probably wouldn't extend that far because you'd rather keep this in your hand so that way the Regained is live. You could banish and then get a thing, but you don't have to. Keep in mind, if you have the Lubellion package, when you're done with your combo, put one of your Colossi up in the EMZ. That way, when you have the ability to Regained, you can revive off the Regained, getting the Magnemite, and you can use the Baldrake in the same chain. So say your opponent tries to hit your Magnemite, you can chain, hit the Magnemite. They don't get the +1, and then you can do that. But you can always have all of them on the same board at the same time. You'll get the follow-up off the Magnemite. This will get you this will get you +1, and then this contribute to Lubellion to get the removal. So yeah, my voice is about to go out, so that's pretty much all it is with Thunder Dragon. It is very complicated to play this variant of the deck, and I think it has potential if we continue to see Droll not be as popular. That is entirely up to the meta, though. If people continue playing Droll, this deck will, of course, suffer. But if you deck build and if you play your deck properly, where you can get to guaranteed this, even if through Droll, I think that's the way to do it. Of course, there's way more this deck can do. Like, you could incorporate Horus cards to get rank 8s to turn off your opponent's nib. With Grass Legal, I can't imagine what we can do with that. That is another thing I'm currently working on, but I need the Horus cards before I can actually do anything with that engine. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Questions, comments, concerns, please post them in the comments. I love talking about deck theory. I'm still going back to old videos, even short of like 2022, and just talking about old Thunder lists. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, opinions, I want to pick my brain about anything, please leave a comment. I will more than likely respond. My channel is small enough to where I can do that with almost every comment I see. So please don't be afraid to do that. Have an excellent day.